Welcome everybody to our first week of the Sydney Boys Basketball Coaches Show. I'm here with Coach Willoughby. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Those of you who may not know Coach as well, could you tell us a little bit about your background, your playing, your coaching, and your relationship to Sydney?
Well, I played at Wiford, Ohio to be a Division II, Division III school. Made it to state my senior year. Played Division I basketball at Miami University, Oxford, Ohio. I coached for 31 years at Houston High School, and this is my third year at Sydney. I have lived in Sydney for over 30 years. Lived in the area for over 30 years. It's actually 34 years living in Sydney.
Wow.
So more than half my life I've lived in Sydney.
All right, so obviously the big news lately is the return of Andre Gordon. Can you take us through those emotions the past 9 months and how this is going to affect your team?
I wasn't surprised. The last couple of years, I'm really surprised it hadn't happened earlier, that he wanted to leave and go somewhere there where he'd be recruited a little bit more. So we always had that anticipation throughout the summers. But when he wanted to meet with me at the end of the season, I had an inkling that something came up for him, and I embraced it wholeheartedly. It was a good move for him. I wished him the best. I appreciated how he let me coach him. He was very coachable, is very coachable. So we talked about that a little bit and what the move was going to do for him. He called then last Friday asking about the ability to move back. Wanted us to check on his eligibility, and of course, I had to smile within. I felt pretty happy that he wanted to come back. Sydney's a great community, doesn't get the credit that it deserves, and things always aren't better somewhere else. It's pretty good here, and I'm appreciative that Andre wanted to come back and finish his senior year with a great group of kids that we have.
Along those lines, who are some of your key returners and what do they bring to the table?
Yeah. Besides Andre, we have Rodtez Roberts. He's about 6'3½". Incredible rebounder, incredible block shot. He averages a little over double figures. We're going to try to get that up a little bit more. Hopefully he can get to about 15 rebounds, 15 points a game and 10 rebounds a game. Other seniors we have returning are Josiah Hudgens. Great defender, plays perfect position defense, and that's why he gets a lot of playing time, is that we can count on him defensively, and he's a streaky offensive player. Jace Conrad is back this year, didn't play last year. Jace has that toughness to him that a lot of teams don't have, and we missed. We have one or two players a year that we need to have that little nastiness to. Don't mind that at all. Camden Voidemart and Devin Taborn, who's a freshman, he's going to see some action. We'll move him in slowly so he can get used to it. Trey Wirtz, we're looking for big things from Trey. He's a junior, one of our better three-point shooters, and you'll see him come into games and probably hit 3-4 threes in a row, and that's what we're looking for. Also, another senior returning is Keith Lee. I can't go without mentioning Keith. Keith is a dynamic player, gives us a lot of things. He's also one of our better shooters. Great teammate, does everything you ask him to do. So I want this to be a great year for Keith. He deserves it.
And on the varsity squad, how much depth do you anticipate having?
We have 13 kids right now. We're looking at all of them to get playing time, and they'll weed themselves out a little bit. It all determines on performance. We just had a little talk last night. We have 13 kids sitting the bench right now. That can be an advantage for us if all are willing to accept their roles and perform in those roles. But it can also be a cancer. We talked about cancers can spread. Just one bad little mouth here or a bad attitude here can really ruin a good season, a good team. So we told them straight out, if they become a cancer, we just cut them off. That's the way we stop cancer. But we're looking for it to be an advantage. We're hoping that we can wear teams down in the second half.
And what about your style of play? Is there a certain style you want to play, or is your opponent just going to dictate that?
Both of those. Each year we have to analyze what's best for our team and who we have on the team, and the style then is predicated on the members of the team and what they're able to do. This year we're looking to speed things up a little bit. We want to pick up full court, man-to-man defense. We'll throw some zone traps in there also. And in the half-court defense, we're looking to get out and deny a little bit more, just to pick up the tempo of the other team so they can't slow it down so much on us. A lot of teams like slowing us down because of Andre, basically, and we are a good offensive team, so they try to maximize time on their possession. So we want to get out, deny, cause some havoc in the half-court set so we can get out and go. Also, the other team does kind of tell us how we're going to defend. Vandalia Butler is going to be a real tough team for us, and they like to slow it down. So we pride ourselves in being able to play any style well, and that's the way I coach. We try to, in practices, throw everything out to the players, get them ready for anything they're going to see in a game, so when it is game time, they're able to adapt to how the game's being played. So we want to speed it up. We want to get out and go, but we'll be prepared and for any style that's thrown at us.
And can we talk briefly about your other programs? Who are your JV and junior high coaches, and what are their outlooks for the season?
Our JV coach is Coach Keaton, Jeremy Keaton. He's a phys ed teacher at the Northwood Middle School or elementary school. His squad is full too. He has 11 players that he's going to be able to play. So I think the program, we got our varsity and JV, we're loaded with number of players and good players. There's a big difference having numbers and kids that can play. That's a big difference. Our freshman squad is coached by Mr. Taylor, Coach Taylor, Christian Taylor, English teacher at the high school. His numbers are about 10 to 11. And our junior high program, I believe both of them have numbers 16 and 17 in their programs. They're first year coaches for me. The 8th grade coach is Bill Schaffner, and the 7th grade coach is Wade New.
All right, so your first 4 games are on the road, so what kind of challenges does this present?
You don't get the support and the backing that we would at home, but I think the biggest challenge is just the rest. The trips have a toll on you physically and mentally, so we have to make sure that not only do we rest our players during the weeks, we don't practice as long, but we just got to make sure that them being tired doesn't get to their heads. We just got to be mentally stronger for the first four weeks of the season than typical schedules allow you. But we're a veteran group, so that should help us prepare. I don't mind playing on the road. As a player, when I played in high school and college, I loved the road, being on the road, because the home crowd would always get on me a little bit, and that would make me play a little bit harder, a little bit tougher. So if we take it that way, I think we'll be all right. I don't want to use the first 4 games being on the road as an excuse. Now our opponents we could use as an excuse. We're playing some tough teams. Mason will be the first time we're playing them. They're a sound team, so we can maybe use that as an excuse, but the game's just being played away. We're not going to use that as an excuse. We hope we're ready physically and mentally to take that on.
Yeah, and how has the preseason gone so far? How are numbers, and how have scrimmages and practices gone? Practices
have been great, pretty competitive with the numbers we have. Our varsity can compete against varsity. We don't have to go and scrimmage or play against practice against JV players, because that's really not, with the kids that we have on the varsity, it's just not really fair. So we're able to compete in practices, I think, fairly hard. I think we're getting after each other, because with the numbers that we have, our practices are going to be competitive, because the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th guy want to show what they have, and the only way they do that is during practice. If they do what they're asked to do, they play hard during practice, and they perform during practices, then that gives us a little bit more trust in them where we're going to put them into game situations. Scrimmages, we had one scrimmage so far against Jackson Center. Jackson Center played really well. We were slow starting, but again, our depth kind of wore them down a little bit. In third, fourth, fifth, sixth quarter, we really turned them over and got out and ran a little bit more. So we're close, but again, this is our first week of practice. Some of the smaller schools like Jackson that don't have football, they don't have to worry about getting their football players back and getting them. So small schools, I taught at Houston for 31 years, so it was always an advantage at the beginning of the season that we could get a little bit more in than schools that had a lot of fall sports. But it's going pretty well right now. I like the way we're competing. Great attitudes. Practices are exciting. They're thrilling. Players on the sidelines, you know, getting it after just as much as if they were in on the floor when we're going up and down. So I like the attitudes right now. I love the JV team and what they're bringing. So right now everything looks real positive, and we just got to get better, get playing together a little bit more, and I think we'll be right there.
And finally, what are your goals and expectations for your team and your whole program?
Wins and loss records I really don't worry about, because if we prepare ourselves well enough and coaching staff gets our kids prepared and scout well enough, wins and losses take care of themselves. The effort by the team, the players, the effort by the coaches all dictate wins and losses. So we're hoping we prepare well enough. We hope we fight and compete well enough that our win-loss records in the end turn out, you know, we have a strong win-loss record. Overall, we want to compete. We want to win our third North Division title in the GWAC. I think that would be a great accomplishment for the program. And besides that, I think teams make their names in tournaments, and we want to make. We were close last year. Had a great game with Springfield. Came down to the last 10 seconds of the game. Springfield was a tough team. They were seated well above us, but we competed our hearts out, and we're just looking to carry that on. We would definitely like to make one of our goals a district championship, and that's every day in practice. You just can't talk about it. You just can't, okay, it's tournament time, let's try to win as many as. We're preparing for that district championship now. That was a long talk we had yesterday in the locker room too. A goal of ours is the district championship. We have to work each day to get there. It just doesn't happen for us. We got to mentally, and that's when we talk about being mentally prepared. It starts with your practice and your preparation in practice. If you're going to fight every day in practice, then you have a good chance to being mentally strong, and winning a district championship team is going to take a lot of mental preparation and physical preparation, so we hope we get our kids there.
Well, thanks for joining us this week, Coach Willoughby, and we look forward to talking to you next week.
It's great. I appreciate you guys doing this, and I look forward to it also.
TV Productions will be covering several home games this year, and we're looking to cover one or two of your first away games. And so tune into our YouTube channel or our Twitter account. And I'm Emma Wiford here with Coach Willoughby, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.